Aubrey, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. And you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Aubrey, for people who don't know who you are, could you give us a bit of an intro, please?
Sure. So I'm Aubrey Terrazas. Currently, I'm the VP of Marketing at Rarible. It's an NFT digital asset company and best known for the marketplace, but we also have a B2B suite that helps with NFT infrastructure as well. I've been in marketing for 10 years and in Web3 for about four, and then a bit of
Nice.
fintech before that. But my background was actually a sommelier, so I was in fine dining
Okay.
prior to everything. And then in late 2015, started an agency that was focused more on wine, spirits. And then eventually we took over to some other types of startups that included tech, but a lot of food and bev and lifestyle brands. And we grew really quickly. We did well. It was based in San Francisco and it was a well targeted niche. Moved to Europe from California in 2019, just before COVID. And so while I was at home and there was a Bitcoin halving, got interested in crypto. And after working in wine for a number of years, got a bit fed up with how slow it was. So decided to go to the complete opposite side of that and looked for a crypto job. Um, and yeah, I've been working in the space ever since.
That sounds cool. Sounds cool. And could you, just to start there, that's quite the switch to go from being a
Yeah.
sommelier into tech. Um, have you noticed many transferable skills from that you're able to put across?
Yeah, it's funny. I having my background and obviously knowing a lot of food and beverage people, and not just food and beverage people, but people that are really at the top of their game. Master sommeliers, world renowned chefs. I actually think that restaurant employees and service employees are greatly underlooked because people sort of see it as a career or job that gets you through uni or whatever. But actually, there's a lot of things. One, especially for front of house, you're certainly learning sales. I think building rapport very quickly is something that comes with that role. Also, just adapting. I think that's one of the biggest transferable skills is that you don't know what you're walking into. Every service was different and you always had to adapt. It's like, okay, great. We ran out of something. Something breaks. There's a crazy guest. You always just have to adapt and the show must go on, as they say. So I think that's a big one. Of course, collaboration, working on teams, management, and marketing was the skill that I obviously transferred more literally as a beverage director and general manager. We didn't, for restaurants, except in the case of maybe larger restaurant groups, there's not really a PR person or a marketing person in house. So it's usually the staff that are doing the social media and doing some guerrilla marketing and out there representing the brand. And yet somehow these brands do succeed. We all know about these Michelin starred restaurants, even though maybe it's a team of 10, 15 people. So how does that happen? It's because they're inviting influencers to come and post about them. They're reaching out to journalists. They're doing the social media. They're going out to these wine tastings or whatever, other situation that might be related to the specific position. And they're talking about the brand. And then those people who are always interacting with the target customer, other sommeliers, other servers, other chefs, are then also saying, oh, like, have you checked out this restaurant that's in the city? Or maybe in another city that a guest might be visiting.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So you went from uh, sommelier to you said they're brand director.
I started
Great.
an agency. I co-founded a marketing agency. It at first was social media,
Okay.
but then I took it in the vision of being a greater marketing agency. We had picked up quite a bit of skills. In particular, we had a major client where I was the brand director for an AI wine startup called Palette Club.
Okay.
And there it was, I was thrown into the trenches and again, adapted really quickly, studied a lot, took courses, and picked up many other skill sets related to digital marketing and communications. So then we
Nice.
expanded and we had brands like Wines of California, Wines Saint-Emilion, major Napa brands like Costa Brown, or they're in Sonoma, but you get it. Um, and we would sometimes just be doing social media, but oftentimes we'd help with the brand strategy, content writing, event production, you name it.
Okay. That makes sense. Because I was going to ask if you followed the traditional route of marketing exec, marketing manager, head of marketing, but that sounds like you just went thrown at the deep end, having to look at all sorts of different stuff at once. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. I think it helps though that I had that management experience too. So like I was already able to manage a team, and with any startup that I worked for, I had the opportunity to build a marketing team, and so that was another skill that sort of transferred over.
Okay. Nice. And now working in the crazy world of Web3,
Yeah.
you've obviously worked across a number of different industries there, as you said, in that marketing capacity. This might be quite a difficult question. Could you give us a crash course on Web3 marketing and maybe how it differs or how it's similar to other industries? And could you talk us through
Yeah, you just have to post on Twitter. No, I'm kidding.
it?
I think that's the perception sometimes, though, is that you just put something out, and it's like you put your logo and your partner's logo, and bam, crypto
Done.
marketing
That's it.
done.
Tick. Yeah.
No, I think that obviously there are some things that are applicable, and actually, I think a lot of the traditional marketing practices are undervalued, because
Yeah.
people do just think that if you know about degens or whatever, that it's then that's all you need to know. But I think that most important, it's right now with crypto, again, there are all sorts of projects that are just getting started. And there's a lot of speculation about the whole industry. So much of it is, I think, narrative and storytelling. So it's very important that someone starts with their brand. And if you jump ahead and start posting, there's going to be some inconsistencies. But people, as much as people might be looking at candlesticks on a chart, so much of it really is emotional. And so I think it's very important that you develop your cultural identity early on and you're very consistent, borderline militant about it. And then outside of that, I do think that what is very different is this community aspect. And that's just what I alluded to in the first step, is that your cultural identity and your narrative and understanding your offering is key. But then what's a little bit different is that I think in more traditional marketing, your user acquisition strategy might be a little bit different. Whereas here, where people hang out is crypto Twitter, Discord, Spaces. So understanding all of those tools and also the language and dialogue, basically understanding how to talk to your audience. But then there's this added layer where obviously you want to, maybe if you have a B2C product and you're building a community, you want to speak with memes and humor and something that might appeal to that audience. But you still want a level of polish as well, if maybe you have some institutional partners you're trying to pull in or some funding. And so striking that balance and knowing how to deploy your brand voice on each channel and how that might look different in a white paper versus a Discord chat versus your website is very important. And I also think that if a brand doesn't have a community person, then there needs to at least be one face of the brand that's out there, because it is such a community oriented industry. And we're really, people use the word echo chamber a lot here, because you do find that it's still very quite niche. And so you're sort of speaking to the same people, which is great on one hand, because I think you can build your community through those partner channels. but you really need to have someone that's willing to go out there and hop on other podcasts, hop on other spaces, and respond to the community as well. Because people, I think, really are craving, like a voice behind the company.
For sure. Should that be the founder?
Doesn't have to be, no. I mean, as I said, a lot of times it's a community manager, community lead that might be representing, even at speaking conferences, like going to DEF CON or NFT Paris and being the one that's on panels. It can be the founder, but, you know, having the vision of the brand doesn't always equate to being the person that is natural with talking to this audience.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the community person either. It could be ecosystem manager, marketing manager. It could be head of engineering. I just think that there needs to be someone that is representing the brand out there.
Fair enough. I suppose it depends on your audience as well, right? Like if you're a B2B project and your tool is used by tons of developers, your head of engineering is probably a good person to put in front of
Or DevRel.
in front of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, DevRel. Yeah, because I hear the phrase founder-led marketing a lot, and I'm not a marketer. And I hear that phrase pushed around Web3 quite a bit. So yeah, just curious. Yeah, it's curious to hear you say it doesn't necessarily have to be the founder, but just someone charismatic, I suppose, who can tell the right story, as you said.
Yeah, that's right.
So what else do you think people need to, or projects need to have in place? So you said that you need a face for the actual community. You need to really work out your brand story and the narrative that you're going to talk about. Anything else that you think projects really need to have in place? Could be the team, could be agencies, could be 12 months vision of the marketing campaigns we're going to run. Anything else?
It's interesting. So if we're really talking about marketing, obviously I said you need to start with your narrative, you need to build a culture, you need that person representing you. And that's really just related to building your community. You need community, obviously. You need culture. The other thing that I think is sort of a paradox with Web3 marketing is that so often with crypto, you need to have this sort of grit and trust. They're always like, don't sell too early. Look at the fear greed index. When people are greedy, that's the time for you to play it safe. But it's funny because people are so inconsistent with their marketing, though. They don't have the patience to see a strategy deploy. And a lot of times these levers can truly bring in a lot of revenue, but they take a bit of time to set up. And you also need to test. And, if you do one spaces with 12 listeners and then never do a spaces again, that's not really a good indication of whether this is the right channel for you or not. You need to try different times, different content, and also just have that consistency. So I would say that, I would give yourself a good 6 to 12 months to really plan out and test your strategy and make sure you're measuring it too. It shouldn't be just based on feeling. You should have some sort of metrics you're following, whether that's new wallet acquisition. Certainly could be top of funnel metrics like the listeners to your spaces. It should not be your social media followers because so many people have bots anyway. But you get it. I think just staying consistent and measuring results.
For sure. So you can actually make some data-driven decisions on the route that you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Where does KOL marketing fit in there? Is that dead now, or has that still got a place?
No, I wouldn't say it's dead.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my take on KOL marketing. Obviously, a lot of crypto projects have a token or plan to have a token at some point. And there's a lot of regulations behind that. As we know, the SEC has not been very friendly to crypto in the past. And so that really limits you to the channels that you can use. Even, you'd think like Twitter ads, for example, would be something because Twitter's so synonymous with crypto. But no, like they often will block projects that are talking about NFTs or crypto. So that's why KOLs can charge as much as they do is because it's one of the few channels that you really have when you're trying to market a token.
Yeah.
But it is expensive. You're easily looking at $200 CPM for a quality KOL, and if not more. I mean, these guys can charge 10K a month for a couple of posts if they have a good following.
Fair play.
Um, yeah, I mean, and it does take time to build a brand, and there's some risk involved with them as well. So fair enough. But a few things. One, I do think they're probably best positioned when either you are pre TGE, especially if you can make some deals and offer maybe some of those tokens, and with a vesting period, so they don't dump it. um, uh, but if otherwise, if you're post TGE or you don't plan to have a token, then otherwise I would just really focus on having a campaign, a narrative that you're trying to share over a few months. And I think a lot of people think that KOL marketing is putting them all into a Telegram chat and dropping your announcement, and then they retweet it, which is the worst strategy that you could have because you don't know if this message is tailored to their audience. So you really need to know that the KOLs are aligned with your brand and with the message you're trying to deliver at that time. And it should really be tailored to their audience every time. So, like the same, for example, we'll take Rarible. Maybe there's a few NFT KOLs that might post like high level about our announcements, but it'd be kind of weird if like a token KOL just randomly was like Rarible's great because it's an NFT marketplace and they're not usually talking about NFTs. So you'd have to think about how that trickles down into their messaging. So maybe they're sharing about what the NFT KOL shared, or there have some sort of other speculation because of the things that are happening in the ecosystem. Um, and the other thing is really, again, it comes back to that consistency. I don't think that posting once is enough. You need to post a few times and give it a few months because it's pretty hard. You can even if they have a UTM link or something, I think it's hard to measure the impact from just one post. You need to look at it as a more holistic strategy and see, if during this time, if you saw an increase to traffic or wallet acquisition, whatever your KPI is.
Nice. And where do you find KOLs to do that? Do you use like certain agencies that have a big long list and you go, right, we need people in like an influencer kind of list, I guess, or influencer agency? Is it the same on the KOL side?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that some projects can reach out, but it does take a lot of work. I think a KOL manager nowadays in the Web3 is a bit like a PR consultant, and that they should really be working on their Rolodex and they're taking time regularly to keep those contacts warm. Whereas it'll be very different if a brand just tries to slip into the DMs. And that's even if a lot of these top KOLs don't even have their direct messages open anyway. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of times you will be needing to work with an agency, which again, you need to make sure that it's the right cultural alignment, strategy, and KOL roster that aligns with your brand.
Fair enough. Fair enough. There's quite a lot to think about, isn't there, when you come into Web3 marketing? So if you're trying to come into the industry for the first time as a head of marketing or marketing manager, and you're looking across all these areas that you just talked us through. Is there anything that you really want to make people aware about the industry before they perhaps come and try and give this a go? Because there's a lot of moving parts, right? Like anything you think they should know?
Uh, oh gosh. I think that it's good to know that it's very fast paced. Um, and so it's very important to be an innovator in the space and to think ahead, even as a marketer. You need to be thinking about your brand play and how that will pan out in the greater crypto landscape months ahead. And also just be aware that there's a lot of ups and downs. You think you've built this perfectly executed like campaign, and then suddenly Trump tariffs. No one wants to, like everybody's in the red, and there's a lot of FUD. So you can't time it perfectly, which is again why consistency, to have a bit of optimism. I think that everyone in this space is an optimist. We obviously have the vision of crypto playing out in the future. Otherwise, I don't think any of us would be here. But to be
Yeah.
honest, I do try to get a lot of my friends to work in crypto. As much as there
Okay.
are ups and downs, it's a bit crazy and fast paced. It's fun, and I think that there are always jobs, there's always opportunity, and most of the time it's remote too. Like the culture is pretty nice to work with. It's much more casual than other spaces, which is refreshing.
For sure. How does that normally go with trying to convince your friends to come and work in the space? I think I tend to spend most of my time convincing my friends that I'm not a scammer and this tech's here to stay. Really. How does that normally go for
Yeah.
you?
um it depends. I admittedly, although I think the presence of women is a lot stronger now, men tend to be more receptive to it than women are. Most
Yeah.
of the time, when I say that I work in crypto or NFTs, like I worked with a DAO before, they look at me like I'm speaking Chinese. Um, and so that's usually when I'm pitching the idea, it's for friends that are already a little bit more forward thinking,
Okay.
and that are curious about technology like AI and crypto. But so far, not many people have taken me up on it. I even have a friend that enrolled with SheFi, which is great, and that's another
Yeah.
recommendation that I have for people that are curious is, especially for women. SheFi is a great way to get yourself acquainted with the space and start a network.
Yeah, because I was going to ask actually if you had any advice for someone breaking into the space for the first time. Like, how do they actually get a marketing job in Web3? How'd you do that?
Well, I was really targeting and applying for the better half of a year.
Okay.
And I think that once you have one, it's much easier to get another one because everyone wants crypto experience. So yes, there are courses like SheFi, or you could even just really take the time to educate yourself. There's things like Binance Academy, but people will be asking you technical questions and cultural questions even on the interview process. So it's important to have a frame of reference. Obviously, go ahead and get yourself a crypto wallet, play around, buy an NFT, buy some Bitcoin, buy some altcoins. Uh, I think the other thing too is to get that crypto experience, find a community that you like and just start showing up, because there are usually community channels. And so being a voice in that Telegram or Discord can help set you apart. And I know people that have got their first job just by being someone that posts. You might even just get a community moderator job, but it gives you that experience, and maybe that's like your side project while you have a more, I mean, being community moderator is completely serious, but if you have maybe more professional experience and like a head of marketing or head of BD type role, the having that side hustle, I think, can
Yeah.
maybe at least show that you have some familiarity in the crypto space.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think I think that really helps with showing a lot of projects that you have a passion for it as well, because otherwise you wouldn't be trying to do it in your spare time.
Right,
I think
exactly.
that plays a big part in it. I also think as well, like especially if you're in the marketing side, like trying to build a bit of a personal brand for yourself through socials can be super, super powerful.
Yeah.
The amount of times I get asked by projects, we need a marketing manager, a social media manager, head of marketing, but they have to have their own social media following on X. The amount of times I get asked that is crazy, really. So I do think you don't have to have thousands and thousands of followers, but I do think if you're posting your thoughts on X, on LinkedIn, on Medium, if you can write blogs and that kind of stuff, you have the time. I do think that's super powerful. Then when you are applying to these jobs and speaking to projects, they go across your pages and they can see that all you write about all of the time is NFTs or DeFi or whatever part of the industry you're really interested in. I think that goes a really, really long way when you're interviewing and
Mhm.
applying for things, so people can see that. Because you've got to show the experience somehow, right? So you have to try and show that you have the knowledge of the industry. Because you're right, a lot of projects do want crypto experience before people working crypto. So that's quite a tough thing to get. But yeah. So once then someone is here, say they've got their first job, it's going well, they've been here for a few months. How do you make sure that you build a really successful career here? Like, is there a way that you can make yourself indispensable to projects and founders? And any advice there?
Yeah, I think that it's a bit of a tricky question because there's a lot of projects that will fail in this industry. So at the very minimum, learn and build your portfolio. So with every position, you should have the opportunity to show something that you worked on, create your success story, and start to build your portfolio. So then, no matter what, hopefully the project doesn't get rugged, but just in case, then you have something to show from it. Um, and the other thing is within the team, make your voice loud, especially if you are working in a bigger organization. If you're coming across interesting nuggets on CT, then share that in your Slack channels. Show again, just even after you're hired, your interest in the industry, and I think that really helps set you apart.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. Um, so, say if someone they've joined the industry, they've been working their role for a little while, they have all of the things in place that they need, they've got the brand, they've got the brand story, they've got the narrative, they are running various campaigns, they have the social media, the KOL marketing stuff in place, but they need to hire and scale a team. As you mentioned, you built your own agency, you're in a head of marketing role now. How do you find good people to join the team?
Hmm. Um, yes. Well, I'm having a pause because I've hired a number of times in this industry, and it can be hard to sort out the talent because a lot of people think. I mean, although I do think that creating that experience is valuable, um, just being part of a community maybe doesn't make you appropriate for like a um, head of communications role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Everyone's being ambitious. And on the other hand, um, like at I won't mention any names because I don't know how much of his story he wants to share. But there is someone at Rarible that is one of the most valued employees, and he hadn't had any professional experience in this sector that he's in now. But he was just really active in the space, and he's crushing it. He's amazing. So it's hard to find that balance, just based on the CV. So I think that's why I think that leaning into networks is really valuable. Of course, that shouldn't be your only channel, but reaching out to projects, seeing if they know anybody. Um, and, if you do have a personal brand, then also leveraging that too, putting it out on your pages that you're hiring. And then people that are interested in your content would obviously make a great employee most of the time because they already are showing some interest in what you're doing and the projects you're working for. And I think that's the other thing too, is you really want to make sure that the hire believes in what you're creating. And I have not hired people that were, on paper, very professionally good at what they do, but I could just tell that they were just looking for a job and they weren't actually interested in the project or what we're building. And I'll take actually my previous job before Rarible Wine Chain. We did end up hiring a girl for a social media lead position. It was very good. And she didn't know anything about wine, but I could tell she was still very curious. She didn't know about wine or NFTs actually, but she was amazing because she was curious and wanted to learn, and that's fine. But there was someone else that even had a bit of crypto experience that I could just tell he was so cold about the project. He didn't really, I could just feel that he didn't have that excitement. And so even though he, had more experience in this space, I thought that she ended up being a better fit because she really cared about the company and was excited to talk about it.
Nice. Yeah, I think finding someone that shares similar values and that is super passionate about what you're building it does go a long way, because you kind of know that then that person is willing to put the hours in to learn about what it is that you're doing, and learn about how they can have a big impact on the project and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And did that person just apply for a job advert that you posted? Did she come through referral in your network, if you remember?
She actually was a referral because one of the founders had wanted to hire her for a previous startup and it didn't work out.
Okay.
So he
Fair
reached
enough.
out.
No, it's pretty common. I mean, I think a lot of people would be surprised at how effective networking can be, especially in this
Yeah.
industry, to not only break in and find an opportunity, but also to actually find good people as well. I
Yeah.
do think if you're not networking around your peers in the industry and that kind of thing, you're going to miss out on one, quite a lot of opportunity, but also you make your life quite a bit harder if you don't know anyone else in the space, right? That you can kind of lean on
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. Um, but no, that's fair enough. So Aubrey, you've shared some great advice over the last half an hour. Tons, really. There's all sorts of people can take away from this. Knowing what you know now about leadership, about marketing, about Web3, would you like to leave us with any final words of advice, or anything you'd like the audience to take away from this?
uh, I would just say have a good time. It is very crazy, up and down all the time. And market cycles, I think, put a lot of people in a bad mood, but things come back up. There's new opportunities, new people to meet. So just really be in it to have some fun, and I think that makes your job a lot easier.
I like it. Have fun. Sounds good. Well, Aubrey, thank you very much for taking the time to have a conversation today. Really appreciate you coming on the show. If
It's a
people want to
pleasure.
find out more about you, more about Rarible, I'm guessing, is Twitter the best place for that? Do you tend to post more on there? Are you on LinkedIn? Where can they find you?
Yeah, a bit of both. I had to smile a bit when you're talking about a personal brand because, to be honest, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So for my time in
Okay.
crypto, I haven't been the best about building my personal brand. I'm getting better now. But yeah, my Twitter handle is 0x Little Aubrey. That was
Nice.
my nickname in uni because I'm little. I'm short. I'm 5'1". Um, my LinkedIn certainly is Aubrey Terrazas. I am building out my personal portfolio as well, which is marketwave.digital. And then, yeah, Rarible is on all of the social channels. We're building out a TikTok. We have Twitter, of course, at Rarible. You can find us on Telegram, Discord, LinkedIn. I don't think Facebook, but
Okay.
pretty much everything else.
I don't know. I don't know how
Instagram,
much
yeah.
of crypto is on Facebook. Um, I'm not
Usually,
sure.
when I feel like whenever I do get something on Facebook that's related to crypto, it's I think 99.5% of the time it's a scam. So
That's a good takeaway for people listening. Yeah, ignore anything you get through crypto on Facebook.
yeah,
Um,
not a good match.
but um, but Aubrey, yeah, thank you very much for taking the time. It was great to chat, and
It
I'll
was a
catch you soon.
pleasure. Thanks.